Hello, good evening, and thank you for coming to the new webinar launched by the delegation of the government of Catalonia in UK and Ireland. And today we will talk about traveling to Catalonia, and which is the situation that we have in this moment in Catalonia. And for this webinar, we have two experts. One of them is Marina Falcois, Foreign Affairs Advisor of the Government of Catalonia. Hello, Marina.
Hi, hello, welcome everyone.
Hi, and the second one is the Director of the Tourism Office for the Government of Catalonia in the UK, Icar Guinovar.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, buona tarda.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. Here in London, with a sunshine today.
Perfect. So let's go. So I have the first question before I arrive, the question from the people who is connected in this moment in the YouTube channel. And my first question is for Marina. And the question is, what is the current situation in Catalonia? What happened? We listened some news and we want to know something else about what happened in this Catalonia in this moment.
Sure. So first of all, thank you to all the team of the delegation for organizing this webinar and for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be here. I hope I will be able to sort out most of your questions, or at least offer some clarification on some issues. So what's the situation in Catalonia? Let's be honest, it's not easy. But it's not easy in Catalonia, as it's not easy here where you are in the UK, in Ireland, or anywhere in the world. I think all of us are very new dealing and managing with such a situation, with such a crisis, with a pandemic of such level, as government, as administration, but also as a society, as citizens. I think we are all kind of learning and getting along and trying to do the best we can, or the best we know, or what we think that makes more sense. But the situation is, at the moment, obviously there's safety as more or less there's everywhere else. There's been a few outbreaks, but just in very specific places. So there's a few places in these specific areas where at the moment there's some form of lockdown. In fact, I think it's a good idea probably that I share a map while I'm explaining this, which probably visually sometimes can be even understood a little bit better. But basically these areas that you see in the map, as you see, is this specific area in the west of Catalonia, which, to be honest, is not particularly a very common tourist destination. So the areas that you see in red at the moment are the areas that are in almost absolute lockdown. So people are basically requested not to leave their homes, are just to do minimum activity, just leaving if they have to go to work, or just for essential activities. And the areas that you see in orange or in yellow is places where there are just some recommendations. Because the outbreaks are starting to kind of get a little bit worse than expected, and they just want to have everything, the health department and the civil protection unit want to have everything under control as soon as possible. They are recommending the population just to restrict the mobility unless it's essential to basically move around. Apart from these areas, the rest is absolutely fine. There's freedom of movement, and there's a lot of different, obviously, because we want to be a responsible destination, we have put different measures, health and safety measures in place, because we want to make sure that not just our citizens, but also anyone who feel like visiting, they do it with all the necessary safety measures. I'm sure that my colleague Icar will be able to explain in more detail what are those specific measures, particularly in the tourist services. But as you see, except for these two specific areas that you can see in the map, the rest is absolutely fine, and we just need to be careful and follow the three rules that at the moment are in place, which is wearing a mask at all times. This is mandatory. Everyone has to wear a mask, except obviously you are sitting down and eating, or you are doing some exercise. And then there's a recommendation to obviously to wash your hands very often as you can, and also to keep distance, at least 1.5 meters distance, particularly in public places, in outdoor places where tends to be like more crowds. So these are the recommendations for all the populations and for any visitor. As long as people who comes here follow it, everything should be more or less fine. So it's just, we only ask people just to be careful and to be safe.
Okay, so I listen a lot of noise. What happened in Catalonia, and we have a question: will I have to quarantine upon arriving to Catalonia?
No, at the moment there's no any particular rule of quarantine. So basically, anyone who lands here in any airport or like anyone who arrives, basically are gonna have a checkout. As they go through the passport control, they also are gonna have like some temperature check, a visual checkout as well, and they will have to fill up a form, which in fact I also have here with me today, and I will show you just now. 1 second. So basically you have to access this website and you have to fill out this form. Once you fill it out, there's going to be this QR that is going to be produced, and then this is going to be sent to your phone, to your mobile phone. And then basically that's it. You just show this form and then go through the checkout. And the only option or the only situation in which someone would have to do quarantine is like if through those checkouts, like they find that someone has a temperature over 37.5, if I'm not mistaken, or have any very kind of blatant, like obvious sign that might be infected, and then obviously then the quarantine protocols would be activated, and that person would be just referred to the closest health center, and then the health staff would just tell him or her what are the steps to follow.
Okay, so the first message is no quarantine in Catalonia when you arrive, so just enjoy the holidays, no? Mm-hmm. So what happened in United Kingdom, Aikar? Which is the situation? What do we have to do when we arrive to United Kingdom?
Well, in fact, the situation has changed since last weekend. Everybody has seen the news, but now Spain as a whole, mainland and the islands, Balearic and Canary Islands, they just are now everybody, UK citizens and non-UK citizens, everybody who take the plane and arrive to UK will need to quarantine for 14 days. Since the date of the arrival, because they are coming from that place. So it means that if you are on holiday right now in Catalonia and you take the plane in some days, at least till now, 9th of August, in 2 weeks' time, you will need to do the quarantine, of course.
Okay, and this quarantine affect the travels and the flights to go to United Kingdom?
Yeah. In fact, before the quarantine was appointed, there were the information that one of the two big tour operators in UK, Jet2, has cancelled all the services for this summer into Catalonia. They are going to fly to Barcelona by the end of September. But by the other hand, TUI and the rest of the companies, British Airways, Vueling, EasyJet and Ryanair, they maintain the flights to the destination. After the quarantine, TUI has cancelled the flights that they were going to do during the following weeks. But it's true that BA, Vueling, EasyJet and Ryanair, they just confirmed that they will keep the flights till now. Let's see if they fill up the flights or not. But at the moment, the flights that are running for this summer, they will be available. We just need to figure out that if things change it on the 9th of August, even before or a little bit after, borders will be already open, like now, but only with the advice to not travel, only for essential things.
Okay, so Marina, if someone comes to Catalonia and not feel well, and how is the health system in this moment in Catalonia? Is collapsed? Is open? How is running on in this moment the health system?
Well, it's not collapsed, except that just for like just a period of time in that area on the west that I just told you that it's still on lockdown. There was just a few days that they were there just on the edge. The rest, it's not collapsed. But basically what they have to do, if they are here and during their stay, they feel, they don't feel well and they feel like, oh, just in case I just want to make sure that I'm fine, or I just want to, I have some questions. They have to call this number. It's 061. Okay. They have basically, they have assistance in like 70 languages. So basically they can explain what's the issue, if they are not feeling well, what are the symptoms that they're feeling. And then in there, some specialist person will just basically advise on what they have to do, if they have to just remain where they are and just maybe remain a few days in the hotel or the house if they rented somewhere, just to see how everything evolves, or if they have to go to any health center, then they would tell this person the specific health center where has to go, and that's it. And then there's also, in case that person actually was confirmed to be infected, or not just that, if it's confirmed that maybe just has been around someone who was infected, the Catalan government has organized now like a network of hotels and hostels, basically to make sure that these people can spend the quarantine somewhere that is safe and isolated, just for their own safety and for everyone else's safety.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned before that face masks are mandatory in Catalonia. Mm-hmm. So does this apply everywhere, or in there are specific places like an indoor venues where masks are specifically mandatory?
Everywhere. Face masks are mandatory at all times. The only three exceptions, are if you are eating. So if you go out, you go to a restaurant, so you have to be wearing your mask, and then once you sit down, you take it off and then you eat, okay?
So,
and
sorry,
then
the restaurants are open, all of them?
Yeah, the restaurants are open. Yeah. Yes, the restaurants are open. They just have certain rules, okay? So they can only take bookings with certain amount of people. So just to avoid big groups booking and going there, and just to minimize any risk. So basically, yeah, mask at all times. Even if you go to the beach, you have to go to the beach with your mask on. And then once you sit on your towel, then you can take it off. And yet once you're about to leave, you have to put it on again, okay? So the only two exceptions is if you're eating and if you're doing exercise, okay? And if you are smoking, that's another exception. And also if you have any medical condition, maybe a breathing condition that wearing a mask might be counterproductive for your health, as long as you can demonstrate it with a medical certificate, then that's fine as well. Mm-hmm. For anything else, always. And actually, if you are caught not wearing it, you can have a fine of 100 euros.
Wow. So you say in the beach also?
This is in the beach as well. Actually, in many beaches, we are starting to see what we call civil agents, which are basically looking out for everyone to keep the recommendations, not just to be going in and out the beach with their mask on, but also making sure that everyone keeps the recommended distance.
Okay. So, Ricard, are venues and tourism attractions open in Catalonia in this moment?
Yeah, in fact, since the end of the lockdown in Catalonia, they have already started to open, and now museums, cultural sites, theme parks, the zoo of the Zoo of Barcelona, everything is already open and can be visited, always maintaining the three main recommendations: wearing the face mask when you are in the museum or doing whatever in the theme parks, and maintaining the distance of security. As well, most of the museums and the places to visit, the attractions, they just establish a system of pre-booking in order to don't allow big groups visiting the place. So the only recommendation before going to any place is just to look for the website and see if they have availability, book, and then you will be able to go.
Okay, so I'm following with another question with you. Do the airlines have any special procurements in place in flight, or something special? Maybe wear a mask during the flight or something like this?
Yeah, in fact, I was last week flying from London to Barcelona and Barcelona to London. The experience was really interesting with the QR in Barcelona and then the QR as well here once you come back to London. Airports are really, or I feel that they were 2 weeks ago, really empty. So there is no problem to walk around and to fill a place with more, not 1 meter, at least 3 meters around you with no people. And then once on the flight, of course, it depends on the flight you have, because there are ones that are fully booked, but normally I have seen that most of the flights, in my case, the flights were half empty, less than 60 people on the flight. So you feel really comfortable to fly. And of course, at the airport, in the flight, and once you arrive, always face mask.
Okay, so Marina, I think that someone have some questions. One of them is, if you can repeat the emergency number for when people feel unwell in Catalonia. And can you repeat the rules to wear mask in the beach, please?
So the health number to call it 061, okay? And yeah, they're gonna be able to provide information in English. And for the beach, so basically, if you go to the beach, you have to be wearing your mask, even when you're stepping in the sand. And just when you lay your towel and you see it, obviously it's to sunbathe, then you can take it off. Or if you go for a swim in the sea, then obviously you can take it off. But once you are leaving the beach, so when you're packing just to leave, then you have to put it back again, okay? Because obviously, depending on what beach you are, but if it's a crowded beach, you have to walk through people, even if they are keeping distance between each other. It's just to make sure, it's just to minimize any chance of infection, okay? So it's like, you walk in, lay your towel, take it off, enjoy, go for a swim, sunbathe, and then when you pack, back on, and you leave the beach.
Okay.
Regarding that, and to complete the information that Marina has provided about the visiting the beaches and enjoying the good weather in Catalonia, we have had at the office several questions about if they are able to go to the beach and if they are open. And in fact, we must explain that all the beaches in Catalonia are open. There are certain rules apart from that about capacity. And for example, in Barcelona, there's people, and when the beach is full, they just close the beach and they recommend you to go to another one. There are other places like Salou, where there is like traffic lights, green, yellow, red, and you can just walk and you will see if you are able or not. There are places like Lloret, a big resort for the British tourism, who has divided the beach in different parts for families, for groups, young people, for sportive. Well, there are different areas, so you need to look for your area, just walk around and access the beach on that side, on that part of the beach. And there are other places like the small towns in Costa Brava, Begur, Calella, Llafranc, who has established like small parcels, small areas on the beach. You access, if you are 1, 2, 3, 4, you go on the same group, you stay in that place with the face mask, of course, And if they are full, you just wait you do the queue, and once somebody gets off, you just go in. During my last week, I was able to visit these places and to see how they work, and it really is normal, and you feel even more comfortable than other times, because the beaches, there are plenty of space for everybody. You can enjoy the distance and enjoy the good weather. So yes, beaches are open. You can enjoy the destination as every year.
Perfect. So you mentioned before that you need a QR. When you arrive to Barcelona or when you arrive to UK?
In fact, both. The QR that show us Marina, it's with location information about where are you going to spend your holidays, the hotel or the place where are you going to be, a contact number, and you just show the QR and you access. It's so easy. And once you arrive back to UK, I was arriving before the quarantine, and there was a similar form with a contact information. Where are you going to stay, telephone number, where you were sitting on the plane, because if they find somebody who is positive, they will look for the people around. And that's all. Of course, now, apart from the QR, you will need to justify where are you going to spend the 14 days. Okay,
but when I arrive at Catalonia, do I need to provide proof that I've been tested negative for coronavirus or no?
No, you don't need to prove that. You only need to give the contact information, basically, and health and safety information.
It's optional, basically. Obviously, if someone has done the test and they have that certificate saying that they tested negative, I think obviously take it with you. That's one more proof that you are healthy and that you are not going to be offering any threat towards public health.
Okay, so Marina, with the current recommendation from the United Kingdom government that no travel to Spain, is the EU health card still valid? So can I use this card and I will receive a good service from the health service in Catalonia?
Yeah, I mean, the European health card is still completely valid until the 31st of December. After that, obviously, we'll have to see how negotiations develop in this area. But until the 31st of December, that card is totally valid, and they can go to any health center, and they will be, they will be assisted.
Okay, so the people who is from United Kingdom and the Catalans who are living in United Kingdom, they don't have any problem to come to Catalonia, and if they feel unwell, the health system will give the service as normal, no?
As normal. The system, obviously, with Catalans, that's going to be a situation. Particularly on top of that, they have the Catalan health card, which Catalans abroad can apply to through the Catalan register, the register of Catalans abroad that we have. But for British visitors, how it works is like a refund system. So obviously, you're going to go to the health center, you might have to pay something, but then you can get a refund back. So it's how it works. But no one is going to deny you any assistance.
Okay, so maybe some people start to follow us, our webinar. So I repeat the question. What is the focus of the coronavirus in this moment? Or the worst places in Catalonia are in the beach?
Let me share again that map, because I think probably it's quite sometimes an image say more than 1,000 words. So this is the map at the moment. This is where the outbreaks are, or the main ones. So basically, the only place in lockdown at the moment are the regions or the counties that you can see in red in the map, which is in the west of the country. Is this area called Sagria, and is not even all of it, it's just a part of it. And any area that you see in red is places where at the moment they are in lockdown, trying to control one of the outbreaks. The places that you see in orange, one of them is the city of Barcelona, are places that in order to be sure that we control it as fast as possible, citizens are recommended to not move, to not leave unless it's essential. The rest of the countries, so as you see, most of the coast of Catalonia, like the southern coast, Tarragona, la Costa Daurada, and all the northern coast, Costa Brava, you see that nothing happens there, and there's complete freedom of movement. And the only thing that we ask is what we ask all the citizens in Catalonia, which is to follow the 3 rules: mask, wash hands, and distance.
Marina, with that map on the screen, it's important to make aware that the main destinations, tourist destinations in Catalonia, apart from Barcelona, where you are able to go to Barcelona, but of course you need to respect the measures. The rest of the areas, in that case, Costa Daurada South, covering areas like Salou, Cambrils, and the theme park of PortAventura, there is no outbreak, so you can visit and you can enjoy the destination, and you can enjoy the services, the restaurants, the museums, the places to visit, everything. And also in the north part, Costa Barcelona, all the Maresma, and Costa Brava, including Girona and Figueras, where there is a small point, but even the Dalí Museum is still open, so you can visit with small groups, less people, so as well you will enjoy the destination, and you can move around with car, with transport public, so you can freely move around. And of course as well, all the Pyrenees, but now August is high season for the Pyrenees, for areas like Val d'Aran, Val de Boí, with the Roman churches, UNESCO World Heritage, the area of La Cerdanya as well, all that these areas that where we can enjoy what we are looking now for: open air and for open space and walks around the nature. All these areas are open and really a good place to enjoy. In fact, the border with France, even if there has been news that it's going to be closed, it's not closed. So you can move around all that area freely.
Perfect. So if I decide to go to Barcelona for tourism, I don't have any restrictions. I can move around. I will be able to rent a car. So as a normal situation?
Yeah, as a normal situation, only that you will need to respect the distances and to wear the face mask. But the rest of the services, you will find it: shops open, museums and places to visit open, making a reservation, of course, pre-booking a reservation. Accommodation, it's true that not all the hotels are open in all the destinations, because that season it will be quite different to the previous ones, but you will have an offer of a good range of offer of different types of accommodation already open now to enjoy this summer, this August, in Barcelona city, but also on the rest of the.
So this means that when you talk about offers, means that are cheaper than the rest of the last if you compare with the last year, and you have better and much better quality of services?
In fact, if we talk about prices, we just realized that most of the tickets, the flight tickets, are cheaper than other seasons. And then, of course, you will find a good range of accommodation. But I think the best to explain now is that you can escape from the weather or from all this month that you have been in UK, living all that situation. You can escape to an area open to the visitors, to the tourists, and enjoy good weather and a good experience of the city. So just try to do it when you can.
Okay, so let me ask you again if exist any restrictions in Barcelona, because someone in in the webinar are asking this. So can you detail the restriction in Barcelona if they exist in Barcelona?
In terms of services, not in other terms of health and safety, Marina.
Yes, exactly. So for any services as the ones that iCard just detailed, it's just about just following the planning in advance, booking things in advance, keeping distances, everything that he was just explaining. For the rest, obviously the 3 rules as everywhere else, and basically what they are saying is for citizens who live in Barcelona, to reduce mobility, only moving around unless strictly necessary. It's also all these are recommendations. There's no prohibit. No one has prohibited anything, but it's just recommendations from the government to minimize infections. And there is also prohibitions of any group of over 10 people. So there cannot be meetings of over 10 people. So if you go to the restaurants or to the beach, anywhere, over 10 people, it's forbidden. And what else? And from today, actually, it's also banned to be drinking on the streets. Okay, so going to the beach with a group and drinking outdoors, that's also been banned as well. Again, because obviously probably sometimes a lot of times mostly young people, so meet in big groups, go to the beach and drink there, and sometimes this can be also a source of infection. So that's to minimize that also has been prohibited at the moment.
Okay, so this is not the best behavior you have to.
Exactly, it's not great behavior either anyway. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think the message is travel responsibly and just do things that make sense. Just have common sense, as in I think it's about common responsibility. Try to not just protect yourself, but also it's about protecting everyone else. What can I do for you? What you can do for me to protect us? So it's about having that kind of common sense of obviously what can minimize or not the risk of infection.
Okay, so another question. Landing from Catalonia and United Kingdom or Ireland, do we have to bring the form already filled out? So, or we can fill it out in the plane, or
you need to fill it up online. I think you can fill it up 48 hours before your flight lands. So you can do it before, or once you arrive, you have the possibility there as well to fill it online. But it's always on a handset.
So do you think that the airports will remain open during the summer?
Yes, the airports are open. The flight connections, not only from UK, but from the rest of Europe, are starting to recover. Every time we have more and more flights, and if the situation is maintained like this, and we can start moving between countries and without restrictions, and even more time there are less restrictions, and we have more in green lists of countries, there will be even more flights for the season, and they will remain open. In fact, in Barcelona, till 2 weeks ago, all the flights were landing in Terminal 1, just one terminal. And since last week, they just recently opened the 2 terminals, 1 and 2. So it means that every time there are more and more flights, and they just open it in order to maintain the distances. The people can maintain the distances between them.
Okay, so Marina, you mentioned that the restrictions in Barcelona are for citizens of the city of Barcelona. But what if we are a group of tourist friends that come to Barcelona, and can we enjoy to restaurants? Can we travel to cities if we want and go to the hotels? So can you explain a little bit what happened?
That's right. The restrictions which are, again, they are not restrictions. At the moment in Barcelona are just recommendations. It's not been banned, but for the citizens who live in Barcelona, it's been recommended, to minimize any movement and just try not to leave the home unless it's strictly necessary. For tourism, there has not been any recommendation on those terms yet. So there should be, as Icard was mentioning earlier, like public transport is working normally, like people can rent cars. So the only thing that we ask is that rule of obviously not to meet with big groups. So if you are 3, try to remain 3 rather than 15, and just like do any other recommendations, like wearing your mask and just keeping the distance with other people.
Okay, there is a person who is watching us say that he's a Catalan living in Ireland, and he's or her, I don't know. Parents have booked holidays to come to visit him. So are arrivals from Spain still in the quarantine list in Ireland?
In fact, Spain is not on the green list in Ireland, so still, yes, they will need to quarantine and justify why they are traveling. But I think this is something that it's going to be reviewed next week or the following week.
Okay, and do you think that the old flights restore from there? So the people can buy a new flights to return to Catalonia or establish a new lines between Catalonia and Ireland?
In fact, currently there are flights from Dublin to Barcelona. The summer season flights from Cork, Shannon, some of them, they have been restored, but very few of them. I think it's Ryanair who has started some of these connections, but not as the previous seasons. There are only punctual flights. The one from Dublin, yes, they are daily and on a current basis.
Okay, so the next question is a little bit difficult to answer, but with the surprise introduction of the UK quarantine, but also with the quarantine in Ireland, are airlines legally required to rebook travels for trips that will not be able to go ahead, given the 14 days quarantine?
Marina?
So let me see if I understood the question. So with the quarantine in Ireland?
Yeah, so the question is, with the surprise introduction of the UK quarantine, but also with the quarantine in Ireland, are airlines legally required to rebook travels for trips and that will not be able to go ahead within the 14 days quarantine?
That is certainly a tricky question, because we are talking, and probably Icard might be able to even know it better than I do. I was about just to say, at the end of the day, they are private companies, so everyone has its own policy, but
as far as I know, if they operate the flight, if they offer the possibility to you to do the flight, they are not legally bid to refund. But this is something that also depends on the company and on the country. Maybe there are different restrictions between UK or Ireland, it depends. But again, if the flight is operating, if you just call them and ask on the company. It's true that most of the flights that you have been booking during this last 2 months, they offer the possibility to change the date of the flight. And this has been with several companies, so no problem.
Okay, so in Catalonia, I know that if Catalan citizens have some problems of these ones, they have an office to help them. In United Kingdom, the people have the same offices. Do you know? Consum is in Catalonia.
Yes, in here we have the Agència Catalana de Consum, which is the Catalan agency for consumption, which you are able to actually file complaints regarding airlines that might be canceling and not refunding flights or such similar issues. I'm not aware in the UK if that's the situation. I would have to look out for it.
In that case here, everybody can ask to APTA, which is the Association of British Travel Agents. They have a website, specific website for the COVID situation. And I'm sure that there you will find information for only flights, for packages, for different kind of services. And you can always ask them to see if there is the possibility.
Okay, so there is a person who is a Catalan national and that asks if we know what will happen if France closes its border and he wants to drive to the UK from Catalonia. I think that it's more or less the same that in the past, no, Marina?
The thing exactly, obviously, as with everything, and probably I should have started at the beginning of the webinar with a warning, which was like, obviously anything we say today is like, as any information has been published to date, but it's also true that information changes and evolves all the time. So, however, when it comes to that, I think that's pretty easy to answer, because if he or she is Catalan, so I guess he's got the Spanish ID or the Spanish passport. No one is gonna put him any obstacle, because basically nationals can return to their own country. Like no one can. The thing is, if they are gonna be able to return, to me, I would be more concerned about the other way around. But no one is gonna tell him or her that they cannot come in if they have Spanish nationality.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you know the websites where the people can find the documents to travel? Can we show in the screen some place where fill the QR information?
I guess I mean this website.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is where, that's a website where you have to go to download the form and fill it out, and then this QR code is going to come out and then will be sent into your phone. And I guess the other way around is like with the form to go back to the UK is a similar. I don't have it here with me at the moment, but maybe we can share it on the chat, or maybe like the person who has that, they can send us an email and we will send it across, or we can put it in our social media.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you very much. One person asked that the UK government recommend not travel to Spain, including Catalonia. Is this because the situation in Catalonia is so bad that a full lockdown will be imposed soon during the summer months, or what happened here?
Well, as I said at the beginning, I don't think it's easy, or I don't think it's worse than many other places in the world. Probably I understand, or we understand, that Catalonia is a very popular destination, especially in summer, and especially for British, people. Like Brits are the second more numerous group visiting Catalonia every summer. So obviously it's a very popular destination. So we understand that there's been a special spotlight put on it, and what's the situation here. As I was saying at the beginning, we are seeing second waves of this virus and outbreaks kind of popping up everywhere, not just in Europe, also like all over the world. So what we are trying to say is, when that happens in specific areas like the ones I showed in the map, we try to act really fast. And I think we rather be too cautious than too relaxed. And maybe I can understand that maybe in countries where mask is not mandatory, or like things are like measured and more relaxed, they might be thinking, oh, if they are doing that, is because here things are much worse. No, I think we are just trying to, to be a step ahead, or at least be extra cautious to minimize any risk. And obviously there's been these specific areas where we had to be, really careful. But there was this lockdown established quite fast, and then there's going to be a lockdown until we see that the situation kind of gets established. But but the rest is not any different as any other place around Europe. I mean, with their outbreaks and like different waves and.
Okay, so you mentioned before that if you are not wearing a mask, you maybe will have a fine. Can you repeat what happened if you are not wearing a mask in Catalonia?
If you get caught, you're gonna get a 100 euros fine.
Good.
But to be honest, we encourage people not to wear the mask just because they might get caught and pay. We encourage people to wear a mask just because we think it's a responsible thing to do. As I said, I think it's about collective responsibility. It tries to be safe with you and with the others.
Okay, so someone is asking about the websites and information that Marina showed. We will put the information in the YouTube channel, and we will share all the links and all the information that we have. Okay, so Aikar, until when will the mandatory quarantine last in the UK and Ireland? What do you think?
Nowadays, the thing that we know today is that it's going to be in UK till the 9th of August, next Sunday, not the other. But it's something that, let's see if it's going to be extended or not, or even just lifted before. But nowadays, Sunday, 9th August in UK. And in Ireland, I think it's mid-August, 13 or 14 of August.
Okay. So from your perspective, visit Catalonia is a safe place now to come?
Yeah, Catalonia is open and eager to welcome tourists. In fact, as we say, the services are open. You have the possibility to arrive to our destination and enjoy it as never before. And you can enjoy it with the services, museums, tourist attractions, restaurants, hotels, accommodation, all type of accommodation open. And you can also move around with public transport, and or if you rent a car, you can just freely move around the area. So this gives us the opportunity to explain that yes, Catalonia it's a good and safe touristic destination because we are implementing all the measures that we need to have in order to forget very soon that situation, that virus.
Okay, and you as the expert in tourism, any secret place in Catalonia to visit?
There are lots of them. You will need to come back again and again.
Yeah, okay. And what do you think about, Marina? Do you think it's safe to come back to Catalonia?
I think it's as safe as it is going anywhere else at the moment, as I say. So I think as long as everyone is responsible and tries to be cautious, it can be safe enough. And what we can say is that it's a responsible destination. I think that's what we can say, at least.
Okay, so that's all for today. So thank you very much indeed for all your information.
If you don't mind, Sergi, I would actually show our audience a couple more websites which I think can be useful because obviously, as we were saying, like things and regulations and restrictions are changing all the time. So I'm going to show a couple of websites that keep updated with all the information coming out all the time. So one of them actually, it's a website that we have just like basically published recently, where you have an amalgamation basically of different information about, for example, people who are at the moment in Catalonia and have to go somewhere else. So where are the places where have restrictions, where they have some kind of restrictions, different kind of levels. But also if you come here, and here you have information about at the moment who's allowed to enter into Spain. Once you arrive, what means of transport you can use, what are the different restrictions, the safety measures that are in place, what are the areas that have additional restrictions, those lockdown areas that I was explaining earlier. And also, if you are here and during your stay you are not feeling well, what are the steps that you would have to follow with the health department, okay? So this is the, you can see it above. It's exteriors.gencat.cat, where you can copy it or do a screenshot if you want. And then the other website is this one. Let me show it from the beginning. Which is a website that has been published by the European Union and is actually very helpful because basically they update it pretty much daily with all the new restrictions and requirements in every single country. So in here, you just have to basically scroll down and look for Spain, and then you'll see, let me move this, and then you'll see here that there's different information about travel, about services, about health and safety. So yeah, I think this is also a very helpful website that you can make use of if you're planning to come here. But again, wherever you do, just before starting your trip, please double check with us or double check with any other official websites to make sure that you have all the information up to date.
Perfect, Marina. So thank you very much. And all of you, if you have any further information or any further questions, please email us on Catalan delegation to the UK at gencat.cat. And thanks for everything, and thank you to join us. We will see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice summer.
You too.
Yeah, have a nice summer in Catalonia if you can.